The origin is times immemorial, and the sages have been talking about it for thousands and thousands of years. This Kriya Yoga is the only yoga which is mentioned by name in Patanjali Yoga Sutra. Out of 196 sutras, that is the only yoga mentioned by name. All other yogas are latter day manifestation of the mind and its machination and mania and manipulations and mischiefs. And it is saying that Tapas, Swadhyaya, Ишвара-пранидхана, Kriya Yoga, which means this Kriya Yoga also has a trinity. The trinity in the Western world is God, Son of God and Holy Ghost. And in ancient humanity it is Brahma, Vishnu, Maheshwara. And in Kriya Yoga it is Swadhyaya, Tapas, Ишвара-пранидхana. For the sake of poetry, they have said Tapas, Swadhyaya, Ишвара-пранидхana. But the thing is, Swadhyaya, Tapas, Ишвара-пранidhana. Swadhyaya is the beginning. Swadhyaya is the beginning. This means waking up to the activities of the separative psyche, the I, and how it is always giving continuity to itself. And this is what is covering up the intelligence. This I is the chitta vritti, intelligence is the chaitanya, and the activities, the super activities of the I does not allow the chaitanya to surface. The chaitanya can be translated as intelligence. That is the closest translation. And this intelligence word is with a capital I. It is not the shoddy little intelligence which is understood by the psychologists and the people in general. It is not cunningness, cleverness, and all the, the intellectual overactivities. This is not that. This is a dimension of awareness which is holistic, which has no fragmentation, which has no division. This is the dimension of intelligence, the Chaitanya. This holistic awareness is not corrupted by choices, by likes, dislikes, preference, aversion, justification, condemnation. It is not affected by such corruptions. The word corruption comes from the word rupture. Rupture means broken up. Corruption is something which is broken up, split, divided, fragmented. In this awareness, there is no corruption, there is no conformity, there is no conforming and becoming. There is only isness, existence, not I-ness, egocentric activity, not egocentric activity. This awareness is not available to any intimidation or influence. This awareness is nobody and yet everybody. And this is intelligence, this is Chaitanya. And this I, the me, the self-centered activities, always hovering around the I and its all kinds of pursuits and paradoxes and prejudice and pressures. This I is chitta vritti. It is the separative psyche with which we are familiar. This is the consciousness which we feel, which is full of fragmentation, division, corruption. The inquiry and exploration into this I-ness, I-N-E-S-S, I-ness, the me-ness, the ego-ness, the inquiry and exploration into this I-ness, that is called Swadhyaya. That is the beginning of Kriya Yoga. And with this Swadhyaya, there is this dominant I becomes a sober I, and it is not so much asserting, arrogant. And then there is an awakening of intelligence which remains dormant, which remains quietly in the background because of these activities of the I. Although these activities of I is possible because of the connection with the intelligence, but this connection, we remain totally oblivious, totally unaware of that intelligence. Now, the lessening, the activity of this I is the emergence of intelligence. It is the awakening of intelligence. It is the dawn of intelligence. That is called Ишвара-пранидхана. That means a perception of a dimension of consciousness which is holistic. The dimension with which you are familiar is fragmented, it is divisive, whereas that one is holistic, non-divisive, non-fragmented. Awakening of that intelligence, that is the third part. And inquiry and exploration into I is the first part. That means inquiry into the chitta vritti and then reducing the chitta vritti leads to resurrection of intelligence which remains dormant. This resurrection of intelligence is Ишвара-пранидхана. In between, there are certain profound practices which is called Tapas. And this Tapas, this yoga practice, the Kriya practice, it is not a physical fitness program as is available in Hatha Yoga studios. Those are okay. Those who need, they do it. And they are available to certain physical benefit and healing. But that is sabotaged because of the psychological complications, the activities of the I, and its constant pursuits and becoming. So unless at the outset in the beginning there is a psychological healing, which is Kriya Yoga, the physical healing of Hatha Yoga, etc., it does not bring that much of benefit. There has to be the benediction of Kriya Yoga at the beginning to be available to the benefit of even Hatha Yoga. And these Kriya practices here is very subtle but very effective. Its main purpose is to release the body from the stranglehold of the mind. The mind comes from the body. If there is no body, there is no mind. But ultimately it becomes the boss of the body. and it interferes in the function of the body, creating all kinds of psychosomatic problems. And the main purpose of this practice is to release this body from the domination of the mind, from the interference of the mind. And the practices are simple. It is transforming. It is not conspicuous and exciting as it is available in many peculiar Hatha Yoga postures. It is not like that. And yet, there are certain exercises to the frenulum of the beneath the tongue, which strengthens the glands around thyroid, thymus, pineal, pituitary, so that the glands are in command, and they give instructions to the body, not thought interfering and creating a mess. Similarly, there is a profound process of bringing equanimity in this, in the separative consciousness through certain special breathing, which we call kriya-pranayama, which is not only special breathing but also a special awareness in the central line of the Sushumna. And then there are, of course, other subtle practices which can reduce the fear pollution and pleasure pollution. These are the two main things which is the source of all corruption, fear and pleasure, and their opposites. And we are held in the corridor of opposites. And the basic opposite is fear and pleasure. And this practice reduces the atrophy of the brain, which has run into this atrophy because of the too much of self-centered activities, because of the neurological defect which has produced the false division in the inner consciousness. So that is what is happening. And therefore, the Swadhyaya teachings, which are very profound but difficult to understand because of the superimposition of cultural input and conditioning. So that understanding is, if that doesn't happen, we remain in tapas, and in due course, when the tapas works, understanding happens. And the two together makes a virtuous circle from one virtue to the other virtue. In the self-centered activity, there is always a vicious circle from one vice to the other vice. But here there is a virtuous circle from one virtue to the other virtue, and ultimately blasting, exploding into Ишвара-пранидхана, the perception of a dimension of awareness which is whole, not fragmented.